AM 710 WETG and 100.5 W263PE Rose Hill. This is the Community and Small Business Update with Lee Woodard on Surge Radio.
Good morning, Duplin County. This is Lee Woodard, and you are listening to the Community and Small Biz Update for Duplin County. The show is brought to you by James Sprunt Community College, your bridge to success, and the Small Business Center at James Sprunt Community College. Wasn't here last week. Ken, it's good to see you back. Ken's behind there. Got Bill shooting video, and today we've got a guest, Jack Hawes, from Hawes Funeral Home in Warsaw, North Carolina. And, you know, Jack and I were talking just a few minutes before the show started, and neither of us really made the connection that we're doing the show on Easter. And so we were sitting there saying no relationship. It just happens to be Easter. But as everyone knows that listens to the show, that we try to showcase small businesses throughout Duplin County. And I was talking with Jack earlier in the week, and when I taught at Mount Olive College, that I had several students that were funeral home directors, and so my knowledge of the funeral home maybe is more than the average person, watching them do all their research. But Jack, great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. You know, one of the things I mentioned to you is about half the people that are on the show have been native to Duplin County, and the other half have been from other places. I still point to Ken being the furthest. He's from L.A., but you're relatively local, right?
Yes, relatively local. I'm from Pender County. I grew up in Atkinson, Burgar area, but I live in Duplin County now, right there in Warsaw. But I do have a lot of family in Duplin County from my grandmother's side.
Yeah, but here in Wallace, right?
Right here in Wallace. That's right.
Yeah. And so you, when you're a veteran as well.
Yes, Air Force veteran, served in the United States Air Force.
Did you go straight out of high school?
Straight out of high school. Went there to actually go to college at the same time as I was in the Air Force. But
now, how long were you in the Air Force?
About 4 years.
4 years. Where was the most unique place you were stationed? Were you always in the U.S. or were you overseas? Or
I was mostly in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Okay.
Yeah, I was there when Bill Clinton was governor.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, what was her name? Jennifer? Never mind. You know, one of the things I mentioned to you, I taught at Mount Olive College, and one of the places at Mount Olive, I taught in Wilmington. I actually taught some in Raleigh, taught in New Bern, on campus at Mount Olive, but I also taught at Seymour Johnson. And one of the things I learned in that process is the Air Force really offers a lot of education opportunity to its enlisted as well as officers, right?
Yes, and actually, I think they offer even more now.
Oh, wow.
Yes, they even offer any more. There's when I decided to go back to college to get my bachelor's, there was a lot of veterans that was coming from Afghanistan and Iraq war that was really going through college at that time.
Yeah,
so the
I'm going to tell Ken, I hear a little scratchy stuff. You hear that too? Okay, just want to make sure I wasn't just me. But is it true that every Air Force base has a learning center that you can take either high school, college, whatever, or I guess high school is part of what you have to have?
Yes, just about every military installation has that I knew of that I think has learning centers on it.
Yeah,
or very close to it. So because I know plenty of even my own cousin. He's just retired from the Air Force and got his master's while he was in there.
So what was your job in the Air Force?
I was a C-130 mechanic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you were taking care of planes?
I was taking care of planes.
Okay.
Yeah. But mostly, most of the time, I did honor guard. I was on the honor guard for the base. Mm-hmm.
All right. You said about 7 years in the military? Is that what you said?
About 4.
4 years. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. So we got you through being enlisted in the Air Force, and what happened next?
Well, I came back home and always wanted to be a state trooper.
Okay.
But funny thing is, they told me I was too short at the time. But that changed about that. They contacted me about 6 or 7 months later until I could join. But I decided to go a different route. I had already got married to my wife, and we just started working, and we didn't go that route.
Right. Well, I know you used your GI Bill, right, to go to school.
Yes,
right.
I was using jail because
You said it was about to expire.
Yeah, like I said, because I was really wanting to be a state trooper, and I remember my mother told me she was serious. I thought it was funny. She said, "Now why you just want to go around looking for trouble all the time? Find something else to do." But unfortunately, my mom passed away in 2000, November 2000, and the Air Force had contacted me and said, "My GI Bill, I think you only had 10 years to use it then after you get out, and it was about to expire."
Right.
So I actually went to work after her service. It just seemed like that was something I wanted to do.
Okay. Yeah, we're having just a few technical difficulties, folks. So the video is going to show our eyes going around Ken, but we'll keep right on talking. So you ended up going to Fayetteville State, right?
I went to Fayetteville Technical Community College in Fayetteville.
Right.
They got one of the best mortuaries programs around. I think at the time I was going through, their passing rate as far as the national and state exam was, I think, around close to 85%. So even though everybody want to think Fayetteville Technical Community College, it's a very good mortuary school to go to. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and one of the things, and when we talked earlier in the week, I've been going around since then asking people, do you know the difference between a funeral director, an embalmer, and a mortician? I do. Asking them, explain to folks that North Carolina is probably has some of the more stringent, I guess,
yes,
certifications, and really to be in this profession, what are some of the things you have to do?
Well, you could be a funeral director, and a funeral director requires you go to school for 1 year. You get a diploma and then do a year apprenticeship under a funeral director, and then you can sit for the state test and get your license. If you want to be an embalmer, you have to get your associate's degree in mortuary science, and again, do a year apprenticeship under an embalmer and sit for the exam and get your license once you pass. If you want both license, you still have to get an associate's degree in mortuary science. Train under somebody that also holds both license, and then once you take the state or national exam, I took the national exam, then you can come get your license in both. But they really combine them, and that's what a mortician is. A mortician is a funeral director and an embalmer.
Right.
Bye-bye.
And did you do both at the same time? Is that the program that you went through, or did you start as a funeral director?
I did both at the same time. I did it. I went through the classes and concentrated on funeral directing, got my funeral directing license, but I never stopped going to school, and then got the mortician license probably a year later.
Okay, and when did you graduate or when did you finish the test, I guess? That's when you really are. You have your year to go, but you take your exams.
Actually, I was doing my apprenticeship about the same time I was going to school.
Okay.
So I think I was licensed around about 2004.
Right. Now, your choice of doing this, you said your mom was a big influence in why you went into doing this, other than telling you not to chase trouble.
But yeah, she passed. Like I said, she passed away in November of 2000. That was a very hard time for me right after that, and we all have to find when someone that we really care about passes away, we really got to find somewhere because we got to live on, and you got to find that medium, and just so happened the funeral home, the funeral director who took care of my mom, he invited me to come in and just see how I liked it, and what I found out was that's what helped me with her death.
Right.
And it's still helping me. So when a family member or a family comes to me, once they see their loved one and they say, that's them, they look peaceful. Thank you very much for that's my gratification there.
Yeah. One of the things I posted in advertising or promoting the show today is that, being a funeral home director or a mortician, you have all the same problems that any small business has, whether you are providing food or clothing or retail store, but you have some unique problems and issues in this business as well that make you more akin to a pastor at a church or a doctor, and one of the things that you mentioned is trust is probably one of the most important things you have to build, right?
Yes, that's right. When we first came to Warsaw, we knew when we first started we had to build trust within the community. I know one of the first days I walked through mortuary, Fayetteville Technical College doors, the first thing the instructor told us is that your rapport, your public relations, your attitude, everything about you had to be greater than the local pastors. People had to trust you. If they don't trust you, they're not going to trust you with their loved ones.
Right. And, you know, one of the things I also mentioned is you have to be a grief counselor.
Yes, you have
as
to
well.
be a grief counselor, and you know, you have to you try to recognize when someone is really having a hard time,
Right.
And then also, if they need more professional help, try to seek that and get that for them. I'm a funeral director and mortician who thinks that everybody has a certain role in the funeral industry. You got we have ministers that helps us. We have, you know, we actually have 2 young men that helps us, and then of course we have women. Men and women are a little bit different as far as funeral. And I think
I've been married for 31 years. I can testify.
Yeah. and when I say we are different, is that traditionally you would see a lot of times you go on a service, you see no women. I think as a funeral home, I think it's very important that you had women on your staff, because women have that natural instinct of nurturing.
Right.
And a lot of times us men tend to close it or bottle it up.
Right.
Where the women, when they see someone that's really having a hard time, they know how to nurture and help them out a little bit better.
Yeah, and when you started out, you worked with some other funeral homes. You worked as an embalmer, I think you said. When did you actually start Hawes Funeral Home?
We opened Hawes Funeral Home in August of 2012.
Okay, and tell people where you're at.
We're at 195 Kingsville Highway in Warsaw, and we've been there for about almost 4 years now.
Okay,
and we love the community. We love Duplin County. Hadn't planned to go there at first, but once we do our research, and as Mount Olive taught me in business school, that you do your research, and I felt like that was a good place to go, and plus, I always prayed to God that He would put good people around me, and that's what really has happened since I've been in Duplin County.
Yeah, that's important. I mean, one of the things that we discovered when we were talking earlier in the week, I used to teach in the Mount Olive program, the business program, the organizational development one, and I saw your diploma hanging up on the wall. I was like, I used to teach in that program. And we'll give Mount Olive University just a little shout out. You really liked the program, didn't you?
Yes, I really did, and I went through the program because of my aunt Donnie. She did very well in the program, and that's what really geared me towards that. I tell you, my aunt, she you just how good the program worked for her. She was in one position on Friday, left Friday, graduated Mount Olive on Saturday, came back Monday morning, got promoted, and doubled her salary.
Wow.
So, and now she's the top transportation for her company.
That's interesting, and you are listening to the Community and Small Biz Update for Duplin County, brought to you by James Sprunt, and James Sprunt will help you get to the Mount Olive program that you're talking about. We'll get you that associate's degree and help you. The particular program you're talking about, let's talk a little bit just about it, because I think it is one of many opportunities we have in Duplin County of trying to further your education and those types of things. Talk a little bit about the cohort system and how you went through. You start as a group and you end as a group.
Yes, you start as a group. One thing I really liked about it is that as a group, we came in, you get to know the people that you're going to school with. I think it was about 25 to 30 of us, and you didn't change classes. The teachers changed classes most of the time. So that really helped, developing relationships, and mainly I thought, with our business, there's the funeral side and there's the business side. Well, Fayetteville taught me the funeral side. Right. And I had to learn the business side, and that's what I got from the University of Mount Olive, the business side. Yeah. So it's two different sides. It get overwhelming sometimes, but hey.
Well, the small businesses, it almost always gets overwhelming because there's never enough time to do all the things that you would need to do, much less what you would want to do. And you were right. Mount Olive's program, I was blessed to be able to teach the statistics, the research methods, and then the thesis portion of it. And so I got to work with folks that were learning how to gather and analyze data, how to lay it out in a way to make sense out of it, and then communicate what it was. And as I mentioned, several of the students that I had were from either owned or working in funeral homes. And there is a trying to figure out where to put a funeral home and how to best serve the community.
That's right.
is requires objective data analysis.
Yes. Because if you just go in, it's like any business. You just go into an area without really doing your research. I mean, you can just end up losing a lot of money, wasting a lot of time. So do your research first. But the main important thing for everybody, for the kids coming today, get as much education as you can. That's the main thing. I really try to push to a lot of two young men that works for me. That's where I'm pushing them.
Right. I'm a proponent of lifelong learning. You're never hurt by learning more.
Yeah, you never stop learning.
Right.
You just never stop. My grandfather always says, stop and listen to somebody for at least 5 minutes. You'll learn a lot.
Yep.
So,
well, I've always been told everyone comes into your life for a reason, either for you to help them or for you to learn something.
That's right.
And often we lose that last part by not listening. So you did your research. You decided where were you looking in before Duplin County? Before you did your research and said maybe Duplin County is the right place.
Well, I was living in Wilmington at the time, but New Hanover County, they have quite a bit of funeral homes already there.
Right.
And I didn't have one particular place.
Okay.
It just so happened that I know my great uncle. He used to live in Warsaw for a while, and just started doing the research from different areas. New Hanover, Duplin, Brunswick. I was just doing research from different areas.
You just actually hit on something that most small business owners aren't willing to do, and that is most of the time someone wants to start a small business, they're interested in starting it in a particular place.
Yes.
Whether it's where they grew up or where they're at or for whatever reason. And one of the things you didn't directly say, but it's true, you were letting the data lead you where the business opportunity was,
yes,
as opposed to picking a spot and then trying to force it to fit. And that is something that most small business owners may not be consciously aware of, is let the environment tell you where you need to be, and then
yes,
offer the services.
Yes.
And that's excellent. So you said about 4 years you've been there, and you've had really phenomenal growth.
Yes. We've our first year, statistics say funeral homes don't, most of the time when they first open, don't do no more than about 5 funerals the first year. And we was right at the statistic. We did a little over that, about 8 funerals now. But now we, I can really say we probably done grown about 400% since that first year.
So it takes at least a year really to start to earn that trust and get people to know you're there.
Actually, it takes a little bit more than a year. It can take a number of years. It's according really to the funeral home itself, its staff. The
right,
owner and the staff, and how much my wife and I really got out in the community, become part of the community, attended many churches, let everybody know who we are, and even though of course you're in business to make money,
sure,
but you have to give back, and we give back to a lot of different organizations, and we attend a lot of different functions.
That's another one. Whenever I do these shows, I often think about. Excuse me. I often think about there's a course or seminar that we offer typically each year. It talks about the top 20 traits that successful small businesses share. Mm-hmm. One of them is they put their business wherever the opportunity is, instead, like we just mentioned. The other one is they are actively involved in their community and give back. So you're just checking the boxes as we go here of doing the things that would give you the best probability of being successful. You and I talked about how you market and advertise and sell, and word of mouth is, you said, one of the primary ways that your business grows.
Yeah, you can spend a lot of money in advertising, usually through the media, even through on Facebook. You can spend a lot of money advertising, but the main best advertisement is the word of mouth.
Right.
And as my first owner, the first place I worked at, he says your service is number one.
Right.
That has to be priority. And every time you have a family, no matter how many times you serve that family, you're going through a job interview all over again. And so you must provide the best service at every single time, every single family.
Yeah, and one of the things that you and I talked about is part of the way, I guess, that Hawes Funeral Home sort of defines service is really trying to figure out what people need and make sure they're not paying too much, that you really work with them. Talk a little bit about your model of how you approach your customers.
Well, I know that funeral first service is getting very expensive.
Right.
It's getting very expensive.
And what's the average, just for
right
like
now
the national average?
Right now, the national average is around about $7,500, even $8,000, $7,500 to $8,000. And we really try to gear our funerals to be a little bit cheaper than the national average and still have top quality.
Right.
We always negotiating with our suppliers. I'm steady on the phone negotiating. And because a lot of especially older people have insurance policies that were geared to take care of them at the time they took them out. Well, let's
talk about that, because
went up quite a bit.
Because that's got to be a shock to a family who thinks they've done pre-planning, and then when they sit down with you or any other service provider, they find out they're not even in the neighborhood.
Yes. A while of 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when people was planning the range was getting prepared, most people took out small policies of $5,000, even is a lot of $1,000 policies. But now, $5,000 is really not enough, you
Right.
know. But we know how to make it enough.
Right.
We know how to not cut corners, but like I say, steady on the phone with the suppliers and try to bring the price back down so people can afford it.
Right.
And again, even though we're in the business to make money, we're also here to help the community. So just as you make money, every now and then you have to give back.
Right.
You have to help that one person. To me, to be a funeral director is something that's more like a calling than just want to be a job. If someone's in it to make just to get in to make money, they're in it for the wrong reason.
Yeah, I tend to think that your particular profession shares a lot with, as I mentioned, a minister or a doctor or someone in health services. There has to be a larger calling than just business commerce.
Yes, I never walked inside of a funeral home before the death of my mom. I was 30 years old at the time.
Oh, really?
Never been inside of a funeral home, and now it's like my second home. But we're on. Funeral directors are mostly they are especially the owners on call 24/7.
Yeah, you mentioned that there's no off.
There's no off. Even when you want to take a little time off, there's really no off. And even when death happens in your own family, you still have to provide that service for families that come to you. And that has happened with me recently. Last year, my family was hit very hard with 4 deaths right behind each other. But I still had to provide the same level of service for other families that was coming to us. So, sometimes it can be hard.
I was going to say that's got to be really hard.
Yeah.
We all need some time, just personal time to, regroup or whatever. Let's talk just, we're about at, I always say this, we're at the halfway point, and it just blows my mind that time flies. I enjoy having these conversations. One of the blessings of doing this show has been the opportunity to sit down with someone like yourself that I wouldn't have had the opportunity to do otherwise, and learn something about not just their business, but who they are personally or whatever. One of the things that you and I talked about is you've got all of the same problems that a business does: cash flow, pay your bills, just planning, and dealing with suppliers. Stuff you've ordered doesn't show up when it's supposed to, and you're scrambling. You've got all of those things, which are no different than any business. But talk a little bit about how you and your staff really try to work with people. You mentioned that we will offer the type of service they need and make sure they understand what they need.
Yes.
But also what they want. And you mentioned different hearses. You mentioned if someone was a motorcycle enthusiast or what. So talk a little bit about how you really try to provide them what they need and what they want.
Yes. We try to really gear each service around the person, and how they live their life and what the things that they like, their hobbies, and even though we offer a traditional service, but we can be non-traditional. For instance, if a person is love to ride motorcycles, just like you said, part of a motorcycle group or anything, for one customer, we hunted actual motorcycle hearse. First time anybody has ever around in Duplin County seen it, but it was something different, and it geared around that particular person. For instance, veterans. I'm a big veteran buff.
Sure.
I try to provide everything I can, get everything that veterans deserve. We had actually had one of Duplin County's last World War II veterans, and we try to provide the caisson, the horse, and the caisson for him, and to just the same thing as the president would be on.
Right.
Just because he was a well-liked person in the community, and that's what he deserved. And as a veteran, so we can be traditional, but then again non-traditional, and find different things that fits around the person themselves.
And I guess the key is really just trying to take the time up front to sit down, talk with the family, understand what their needs are, the wants, and then just trying to be honest and straightforward with them.
Yes. There's all different types of products out there that actually do the same function. They have the exact same function. One may be 2,000, one other may be 5,000. The 5,000 may just look prettier. But if they do the exact same function, I'm gonna let you know about the one that's a little more less inexpensive, and let the family make their decision on that.
Yeah, you were talking specifically about vaults. There's some that are very pretty, and there are some that are plain. But they're both going in the ground,
and they both provide the same function.
Right.
So I let the family be aware of that. Because we want to do the very best for our loved ones. And I'm in the same boat. We want to do the very best, but we have to realize that after when the service is over, after everyone is gone, that we have to live afterwards.
Right.
So, we're going to provide whatever you want, but just always, I always try to remind them you got to live afterwards. So
that's right.
Don't, just like a death can be a emotional shock, it can be a financial shock as well.
That's right.
So we always want to be conscious of the cost and what are we paying for.
Well, let's talk just a little bit about, I will take a second to remind folks you are listening to the Community and Small Biz Update for Duplin County. I am Lee Woodard, your host today, and the show is brought to you by James Sprunt Community College, your bridge to success, and the Small Business Center at James Sprunt Community College. We are still offering workshops and seminars, so we're finishing up the Entrepreneurial Academy, and we have some other ones coming up in April. So take a look. You can get to our website at jamesprunt.edu and go to the Small Business Center, and you can see. And if you are interested in starting a small business, just give me a holler. I'll be glad to sit down with you and make sure you're on a good path forward. Also, just to remind people, it is springtime. You got your taxes done. It's time to fill out those FAFSAs and get your financial aid and stuff in place. Again, just call the college. We'll get you pointed in the right direction. My guest today is Jack Hawes from Hawes Funeral Home, and we've sort of been talking about how he got into it and a little bit about the service. But this is a small business show, so I want to talk to you a little bit about small business. What do you find as a small business owner especially in your profession, what do you find is maybe the largest challenges besides no sleep?
Taxes.
Taxes.
Yes.
Is that because it's almost April? Is that why you're saying taxes?
Taxes and just you find out there's a lot of rules and regulations that you must follow.
Right.
Even with the business side, with the building itself, the location itself, there's a lot of different regulatory commissions that governs small business, and you got to be aware of all of them.
Right.
And you never know. Just the smallest little thing can cost you a lot of money. So
That's right.
you have to be very aware of a lot of different things. And again, and that's why most of the time, even though we're a small business and we want to keep the inventory low, we want to keep the personnel low, a lot of times it's best to hire people that are more experienced in that area to help you with that.
Well, I was going to ask you, how good are you at delegating? A lot of times small business owners, one of the chinks in their armor is that they're not good delegators. They have to see everything, touch everything. How good of a delegator are you?
No, I'm not that person. I don't have to touch everything. I try not to micromanage.
Okay.
I try to just oversee, but not micromanage. Everyone that works with us now never worked in the funeral business before, so I had to train all of them with the help of one of my good friends. He helped me train everybody, and then I leave it to them to actually think, okay, this is what has to be done. I have to get this done. I may go check, but I don't micromanage.
Okay.
I delegate. I try to delegate as much as I can.
That's good.
But a lot of things, as far as the funeral industry is concerned, it's a lot of things that the staff cannot do.
Right. You choose
Because-
as the person that's certified have to.
the person with the license have to do it.
Okay.
So it's a lot of. That's why sometimes it can get a little challenging when you're the only licensed person in the business, because the North Carolina Funeral Board says, hey, the only way you can't, like for instance, if someone calls and asks for prices, no staff member can give a price
I didn't
unless
know
it's
that.
a funeral director.
Oh.
Yes, only funeral directors can give prices.
Why is that?
That's really
I'm
a
trying to
rule of the law.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to. I guess that's that's interesting.
And so some people get a little upset, and
Sure.
when they call in my reception to answer the phone, and she said, "Well, I'll have the funeral director call me." Well, you can't tell me how much this cost. No, she can't tell you at all.
Yeah.
But she can actually, if you walk into the funeral home, she can actually give you a price list, but
Oh.
she cannot discuss any prices on it. That can only
Can
be
she
discussed.
email the price list?
She can email the price list, but you can't discuss it. She can't
Gotcha.
engage in any kind of discussions about it.
That's
at all.
interesting. What are some of the more rewarding parts of being a small business owner?
Having a little freedom to do, not having to be at work at a certain time. Now I go to work at all different times.
2 o'clock in the morning,
2 o'clock
whatever,
in the
when they
morning,
call.
5 o'clock, yeah. But a lot of times I can, hopefully, sometimes I can gear my schedule around where I can have, try to get a little time off. A lot of times it don't work that way. But what I'm looking forward to is once, we've been in business for a while and I have more people there helping me, that we'll be able, my wife and I will be able to take more time off and like that. But I really like being my own boss per se.
Yeah.
I really like that. Not saying I can't work, for another company, because I've had different experiences. Of course, the Air Force, that I can work with just about anybody.
Right. Now, when a lot of times, and it doesn't happen with everyone, but a lot of times when I talk with small business owners who've been in business for a couple of years or more, there's always some things that surprise them about business that they weren't expecting to have happen. Now, one of the almost always, not always, but almost, is how much cash it takes to run a business.
Oh, yes.
They're really surprised at that. They do their list of how much they think things will cost, and then what they haven't factored in is how long it'll take to get paid, or how long, and you deal with a lot of folk, not just individuals, but it could be insurance companies, right? You get money from a lot of different places, and it never comes as soon as you would like it to. You talk a little bit about just how you manage those kinds of things.
You really have to be conscious, because just like you said, with most funeral arrangements are paid through insurance, and it can take anywhere from 6 weeks to 6 months to get paid. So you must balance everything. I mean, everything from payroll, purchasing new items, and then everything is expensive. I'm telling you, there's nothing really about the funeral industry like I'm in. It's just expensive,
right?
And as a business owner, you have to really balance that out. And a lot of people think that you make a lot of money, you have a lot of money, but you really have to have that medium in knowing when you can spend and when you cannot spend.
You're absolutely right. I mean, a lot of times it's something that folks learn is the thing that kills most small businesses is not profitability, the fact that they're not profitable. The thing that kills them is their cash flow is so negative they cannot pay their bills on time, therefore they can't get what they need in order to run their business. And so a positive, or at least neutral, cash flow is king, and sometimes the only way to do that is to start with a lot of cash.
Yeah, start with a lot of cash, or if you possibly can, as we say, use someone else's money.
Oh, absolutely. Debt is, it's so funny you would say that. I'm a big fan of debt when it comes to businesses. I'm not a big fan of debt when it comes to people, individuals. It doesn't help people, but it does help businesses. But the problem is, typically as a business, you can only get debt if you don't need it, in the sense of, you've got something you're putting up as a personal guarantee, or, somehow you've got collateral and stuff. So it takes a while, just as you mentioned, word of mouth to build trust. You got to build trust with your banker too.
That's right.
And it takes a little while. And so the cash requirements have always surprised the small business owners. Just as a side note, the IRS says that a small business that's fully capitalized has not only all their startup costs in the bank, ready to pay, but they have 1 year of operating costs sitting in the bank as well. And honestly, very few small businesses have that level of capitalization. That's right. But that's I say that to all my clients just to give them an idea. Folks, this is going to take more cash than you can realize. So just because you've got it, as you mentioned, sitting in the bank doesn't mean you can go buy a new hearse right now, because you're going to need that cash 3 months from now.
That's right. And then actually, what you're saying is exactly true, because that actually really happened, with us. We actually ended up spending more money to start up, as far as, repairs on the location and everything. And so we had to start dipping into our cash flow, which, that really
gets scary.
Pinch. Yeah, it gets very scary. So and it scares you because, when you take your hard-earned money that you earned, and you have that tucked away, and then you look and say, oh, I'm about to lose it. That's
right.
Very scary.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, everyone says, hopefully they say it jokingly, I'm where dreams come to die, because a lot of people will come talk about their idea for a small business, and I'll start playing devil's advocate with them and saying, this probably isn't a good idea, or whatever the situation might be. But I
think you need to know the negative side.
Absolutely.
You really need to know the negative side. And again, that's when the particular business you want to go in, that's the reason why you need to do your research on it and try to find out everybody who governs you within that business.
Yeah, I'm the number one report for a small business for me is your cash flow. I would want you to be looking at it at a monthly basis and be looking at comparing it to last month, last quarter, and the last year, just so you can see how you're managing it. Once your cash flow is managed well, you can figure out how to grow. It's been my experience. But if you can't manage the cash flow, you're never going to get out of you'll never be able to grow, because you'll never know when you can't pay your bills.
That's right.
So. Got a little bit deeper into just the small business minutia that I wanted to, but one of the things that we've talked about, you hope to grow. Talk a little bit about what you see the future of Hawes Funeral Home.
We're actually growing at a very steady pace. A lot of times when you grow too fast, it can also halt very fast.
Right.
So, I'm not I wasn't an owner that wanted to come in Duplin County and just start off doing 100 funerals a year. I wasn't prepared for that.
Right.
My staff wasn't prepared for that. But you have to get prepared in a lot of different ways. But I didn't want to grow too fast. Because like I said, a lot of times you grow real fast and you don't have the personnel or the cash flow, because most of everything in the funeral business is paid up front. So if you don't have a lot of the cash flow, a lot of times, even though you're doing a lot of services, you may not have the money to actually get the service started.
Right.
So that can be disastrous for you because you're not providing what the family wants, and you're not meeting your payroll. And like I say, even though you're doing a lot, it can hurt you as well.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the services that you do offer. I mean, we've talked in general about how you got into the business. We've talked about a little bit about small business, but let's talk specifically about your business. What are the services that Hawes Funeral Home offers?
We offer, like I say, non-traditional and traditional services. Cremation. Cremation is becoming very popular now. And also a lot of natural burials are coming more in popular. But mainly in the South, people are still a lot tradition.
Right. That drives a lot of what we do every day, from what we eat to what we drive.
That's right. We do
what pew we sit on in church.
That's right. What pew we sit on in church. But the thing is, true tradition is things always change for the better. And the prime example is the telephone. It's changed so much over since I was a little boy. But so you have to be able to provide for everyone. Now do
you offer pre-planning services?
Right now we do not offer pre-planning services right now. But we're gearing towards that.
Okay.
We're looking towards that. And it's a whole different.
Well, I would think
things.
So. I would think so. I'm curious because I'll go out on the limb myself and say what I think, and you'll tell me if I'm right or not. As a species, humans don't do a good job of planning long range sitting out. We don't usually save enough money. We don't usually plan on. We tend to be more optimistic about the future than reality is going to be. So we don't plan very well. What percentage of folks that come to you have actually done pre-planning?
Well, the older we get, the more conscious we are of
our mortality.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we start making once we always want to start making arrangements. But my advice to everyone is to do it at a younger age. It's a whole lot cheaper. For instance, a young lady told me one time that we will spend $150 in a telephone a month, but will not spend $20 on a life insurance policy. and it just doesn't make. Yeah,
it's very human.
It doesn't make any sense, really when you think about it. But so, even though we're in our 20s and that's not even what we're thinking about, but life insurance is so inexpensive at that time.
There's a presentation that I do for a variety of groups on financial investing for individuals, and the number one way to have plenty of money when you retire is to start when you're young.
That's right.
It's not this investment group. It doesn't matter how much you start. If you start early and time is on your side, you're absolutely right. Things are cheaper. But I know that when I was 21, I was bulletproof, or at least I was convinced I was bulletproof, and felt like those types of thoughts of planning that far ahead, planning for 50 years out, just weren't front and center, and aren't in front, and honestly shouldn't be. If you are 21 years old and you're worried about your death, I'd say there's some other things that you might need to check on and help you with. But still, if you can find that discipline to start saving early, it really is important, and I harp on that all the way. But you mentioned one of the things that I made a note of, and I wanted to make sure I asked you. You said it used to be, and I'm sure it still is to some point, funerals were mostly older folks, and
that's right.
And now it's a broader range of ages.
It's a broader range of ages.
It bothers me to some degree when I think of that, but I think it's interesting.
Yeah, when I was younger, and the only funerals I ever attended was older people, but now they range in all ages. There's no age limit at all, and it's very surprising how young some people are dying today.
Right.
And especially when, like myself, when I have a classmate that has passed away, to me that's shocking, because I'm in my mid 40s, and it's just blows me away.
Right. It's just not something you think about.
But then you got younger people that are younger than me that are passing away, and not by violence, just natural causes, and it's just really, really shocking how the trend has changed. I mean, just how it just changed so much, or we didn't notice it as much.
Well, I was going to say, we have so much information available to us today, globally, locally, regionally, and it's all right there in front of us. I think oftentimes we believe things are changing when they haven't changed. We're just more self-aware. We're just more aware of what's going on, and that's
and that could be we just more aware, but it is.
But it's still concerning.
It's still concerning, and you still need to really take time out, and parents and grandparents. I know your kids get out of high school, they go to college, they're vibrant, they want to do this and that, but really try to teach them as younger how to manage their money. Start them in their teens, bank accounts and stuff like that. Yeah. Some of the best basketball and football and baseball players started when they were 5 years old, and those are the ones going to the majors that start very, very young. So start with your kids very young on financial planning for the future. And of course, with us, my mom kept us in church. So even when I left to go to the Air Force, you found the church. Those things stick with you.
That's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it really is interesting. One of the things I did with my I absolutely agree with you. I think we do for such a rich nation, we do such a poor job of helping people understand how to plan long term for their financial future. We don't do a good job, and I tried some things with her. I did when she was a little kid. I told her that whenever she got money, that whatever portion she'd put in a savings account, I would double it for her. Hoping she'd realize that she could put half away, and she would still have the whole, because I'm doubling it for her. And it took a little while for it to click. I was just trying to show her how money grows, and then, constantly showed her that how a little bit invested now, 50 years from now, is how much it really is.
That's right.
And you don't have to do anything. You're not 55 trying to figure out how to double your retirement, because that becomes really difficult.
And the two young men I have working for me, both of them are 16. They're still in high school. One's been with us since he was 12.
Wow.
So, and they would tell you, the first thing I tell them, when they get paid, pay your tithes, put a little money in the bank for yourself, and help in the household. Because see, I feel like if you help in the household, you're developing a responsibility.
That's a good point.
When you get older.
Yep.
So you know how to pay bills. And I'm not saying that you have to pay, they have to pay the entire water bill or light bill for the house. But what my mom did me that way. And to my surprise, when I got ready to get my first apartment, the money that I was giving her for the household, she had saved every dime of it.
Oh.
So she actually gave me that money back, and that bought all the furniture
Oh, that's what a wonderful. Your mom sounds like a wonderful person.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great lesson times two. It was a lesson while you were doing it, and then she hands you a great gift back. But
yeah, and also my mom taught me that, and my dad, he was always a hard worker. You know what I'm saying? That's why I saw in him, and I guess that's my wife said, I'm always working, but I saw my father working and my grandfather, they were always working. So.
Well, Jack, we're closing in. We've got a few more minutes left. Is there anything in particular about Hawes Funeral Home or your services, anything that we haven't touched on that you wanted to mention?
Well, mostly our slogan is because precious moments may never be repeated, and that is a precious moment. That's the last time you're going to see your loved one. So we're going to make sure that the family is very well pleased and with what they're getting in their funeral arrangements and in the service that they want. We all walks of life. We try to gear our service around that person, like we said before. But some of the things I really like to touch on is like even veterans. For all of you veterans that just getting out of the military or been out for a while, make sure you have your DD-214. Go register it at the Register of Deeds. Because
tell people what that is. The DD-214.
Yeah, the DD-214 is basically your separation papers or your service certificate. And make sure you have it. Even though you have it, it's good to go register it at the local register of deeds, so you can always go back to it.
Okay.
Because because that DD-214 helps me get the veteran all what they are entitled to from the government.
And that's the benefits that would come, death benefits.
Death benefits.
That's right.
Even the military the military won't even come do military honors unless that DD-214 is present or a service certificate. We have found some other clever ways. Well, not really clever, just ways that there's other organizations that will help you find
that information.
DD-214s, because there's been a lot of fires back in the day that a lot of them was destroyed.
Right.
But always remember when you come home, or if you're a veteran now here, go register it at your local register of deeds, so it will always be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, folks, you've been listening to the Community and Small Biz Update for Duplin County. I'm Lee Woodard, your host. The show is brought to you by James Sprunt Community College, your bridge to success, and the Small Business Center at James Sprunt Community College. Our guest today has been Jack Hawes of Hawes Funeral Home, and as I mentioned in the beginning of the show, there was no real planning here to have Easter weekend and have Jack here on the show. It just worked out that way. But it's still something, it's like, as I mentioned to Jack, death is not something that we eagerly run to talk to or want to experience, but it's a very natural part of life. And, it's great to have folks who have our best interest in there that are taking care of those last remaining moments. So, Jack, I don't think you've told people how they can reach you. So you want to give out some contact information?
Yes, we can telephone us at 910-293-3535, or you can email us at hawesfuneralhome@gmail.com. at gmail.com. And or just stop by 195 Kenansville Highway. And if you have any questions, just stop by and ask us. If you have any questions about your insurance, we look at insurance policies free. I advise everyone to always look at their insurance information at least once a year. Do an insurance maintenance check.
Yep. Call
your insurance company and make sure that what you have in your insurance, what you have in your insurance contract is valid and is up to date.
And if you come by the Small Business Center, I'm going to add to that checklist. There's some other things we ought to do annually as well.
And we do all that for free. We don't charge anybody for doing that.
Absolutely.
We look at it and make sure everything is right for you.
All right. Well, Jack, it's been a pleasure to have you on the show.
It's been a pleasure being here.
And next week, I don't quite have it confirmed, but I believe we're going to be talking about a little bit about computer security. Rumor has it we might even talk about encryption. Should Apple give the FBI what they want, or should maybe Apple should keep things encrypted? We'll see. We'll talk a little bit about that because I actually ride the fence on it. Folks, I hope you have a great weekend. There might be a little bit of rain today, a little cooler today, but next week's going to be beautiful. We'll talk to you next Saturday.